Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to the Whispers of Secrets. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you love stories filled with raw emotion, unexpected twists, and powerful redemption, please hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and drop a like. It truly helps the channel grow. I adore reading your comments, especially when you share where in the world you're listening from. So don't be shy, tell me in the comments below. Now, grab something cozy, settle in, and let's begin. Until very recently, I believed my life had been quiet and ordinary, nothing dramatic enough to fill a long story. I lived in the background, unnoticed, even in the comfortable condo my late husband Robert and I bought decades ago. Over the last 10 years, that condo no longer felt like mine. It belonged to my son Ethan and his wife Sophia. I was tucked away in the smallest room, once a storage closet, where my books, Robert's old photos, and his favorite reading chair slowly gathered dust. I never complained. Why start trouble? All I wanted was for my son to be happy. Each morning began the same. I rose at 6, moving silently so I wouldn't disturb them. I'd make Ethan's oatmeal, brew his strong coffee, and prepare Sophia's fancy herbal tea with imported petals that always irritated my throat. I drank plain tea alone in my room, staying out of sight. My social security checks went straight into their joint account. "Mom, why would you need cash?" Ethan would say, avoiding my eyes. "We handle everything together." And I agreed. Why would I? My clothes were secondhand, and I rarely left the condo except for groceries or the pharmacy. My dreams had shrunk to one, seeing my son happy. I even handed over the savings I'd set aside for eye surgery when Sophia needed a new designer purse. "Mom, you understand, right?" she cooed, hugging me. "Ethan's coworkers are all so successful. I have to keep up, it's important for his career." Ethan nodded gratefully. I gave them the money and bought stronger reading glasses instead. My opinions didn't matter. If I mentioned the soup was too salty, Sophia would smile thinly and say, "Mom, your taste buds aren't what they used to be." If I offered Ethan advice from my years of experience, he'd gently cut me off. "Things are different now, Mom. We'll figure it out." And they did. I became the cook, the cleaner, the unlimited ATM, an invisible woman whose presence was useful but never essential. Some evenings, I'd sit in my chair, look at Robert's photo, and whisper, "Robert, did we raise him right? He's a good boy, isn't he?" The photo stayed silent, and I convinced myself I was doing the right thing. A mother sacrifices for her child, doesn't she? Then my 63rd birthday arrived. I expected nothing grand, maybe daisies or my favorite dark chocolate. That morning, Sophia was unusually sweet, hugging me and saying, "Happy birthday, Mom. Ethan and I have the perfect gift, you're going to love it." Something warm flickered inside me, a forgotten spark of anticipation. Ethan kept checking his watch. "Get ready, Mom. We're going to pick up your surprise." I put on my best dress, a simple blue cotton with tiny white flowers, and looked in the mirror. An older woman stared back, eyes tired but, for once, hopeful. Sophia stayed home with a headache. "You two go," she waved. "Tell me everything later." We drove for hours. City streets gave way to highways, then empty fields and woods. I asked where we were headed, but Ethan answered shortly, "It's a surprise, Mom." Anxiety grew. This wasn't the road to a spa or resort. Finally, we turned onto a rough dirt track. The car rattled violently. Ahead lay a handful of crumbling houses, blackened, sagging, abandoned. Ethan stopped beside the worst one, a crooked shack with a collapsing roof and boarded windows. Tall weeds choked the yard. "Here we are," he said flatly, killing the engine. I stared, speechless. He pulled an old duffel from the trunk, packed with a robe, slippers, and soap, and set it in the dust. "There you go, Mom. This is your gift. Sophia and I bought you your own house, fresh country air. You'll live here now. It's better for everyone." The words landed like stones. I looked at my son and saw a stranger, eyes empty, face tired and annoyed. "Ethan," I whispered, "why?" "Mom, don't make this difficult," he sighed. "We need space. Sophia's pregnant." He slammed the car door and drove off, dust rising behind him. I stood alone with my bag and the ruined shack. Something inside me clicked, like a frozen lock finally turning. Warm, forgiving love turned to clear, sharp ice. I didn't cry. I didn't call after him. I simply watched his car disappear. In that silence, I heard myself, Margaret Hayes, for the first time in years. And Margaret said, calm and clear, enough. I remembered something vital. Years ago, Robert had insisted on transferring his share of the condo entirely to me. Life is long, Maggie, he'd said. I need to know you'll always have a roof, yours alone. After his death, the condo became mine, solely. Ethan assumed it would pass to him someday. I never corrected him. I also remembered the modest inheritance from a distant cousin 5 years earlier, an apartment I sold quietly, placing every dollar in a secret account Ethan and Sophia knew nothing about. These truths lit up inside me like floodlights. My old flip phone was in the bag, simple, no internet, but it held crucial numbers. No signal here, though. I climbed a nearby hill through thick brush until 2 faint bars appeared. First call, Mr. Thompson, my longtime bank manager. I asked him to immediately block Ethan's access to all my accounts, redirect my social security to my private savings, and require my personal approval for any transaction. He didn't question me. It was done within the hour. Second call, attorney Lucas Grant, who'd handled the inheritance sale. I instructed him to confirm my sole ownership of the condo and protect it from any claims, especially Ethan's. Walking back down the hill, the shack no longer looked like a grave. It looked like a quiet base for a bloodless war one was about to wage. Days passed. I cleaned, hauled water from an old well, lit the stove, and survived. Each evening I climbed the hill for signal. On the third day, Ethan called, irritated that Sophia's card was declined. I heard Sophia in the background snarling that I'd soon crawl back. I said quietly, figure it out yourselves, and hung up. More days. More work. Then Lucas called with devastating news. 8 months earlier, while I lay delirious with pneumonia, Sophia had tricked me into signing mortgage papers using the condo as collateral for a massive loan. They'd planned to spend the money, let the bank foreclose, and hide me here so I'd never know. Fury turned to steel resolve. Lucas filed fraud complaints. The bank froze their accounts. Panic set in on their end. They drove out, begging, threatening, acting wounded. I confronted them calmly with the truth. Masks fell. They left defeated. Desperate, they returned with relatives, claiming I'd lost my mind and needed to be institutionalized. But my neighbor, kind, wise Mr. Walter Brooks, an older gentleman who'd quietly helped me since I arrived, stepped forward. He told everyone exactly what he'd witnessed, a son abandoning his mother in a shack. The relatives turned on Ethan and Sophia. Their final scheme collapsed in public shame. The bank voided the fraudulent mortgage. Criminal charges followed for Ethan and Sophia. I sold the condo, took my memories, photos, books, Robert's chair, and returned to the country. With the proceeds and my savings, I hired workers to transform the shack into a real home. New roof, windows, stove, porch. I planted a garden, embroidered in the evenings, and watched my rescued peonies bloom wildly. Walter and I became dear friends, sharing quiet evenings on the porch. I'm 65 now. I sit here with herbal tea from my own yard, a purring kitten on my lap, watching another breathtaking sunset. My hands are rough from honest work, but they're the hands of a woman fully alive. Sometimes I almost feel grateful to Ethan and Sophia. Their cruelty forced me to discover my strength, my dignity, my freedom. They thought they were burying me. Instead, they set me free. Thank you for listening to the end, dear friends. If this story touched you, drop a 1 in the comments. Like, subscribe, and check the 2 stories I've linked on screen. Everyone's loving them. Your support means the world. See you in the next whisper. With love.